Hi, it's me. It has been a long time.
Many months later.
And also, this time is not about a hobbit adorable little tank, it's about ugly, dystopic, post-apocalyptic, rusted, spiky cars. Because sometimes you just have to open yourself and show your inner apocalypse to the world.
Iron teeth, savage schemes. I wanna escape these crimson streets. Wasteland fury, bloodstained clouds. Skulls and bones are lost or found. Chaos reigns, no hope around. In the silence, vengeance crowd. This is war, dust from skies. Fuel for blood, no compromise. Wreckage trails, metal cries. Survival's rule, kill or die. Engines war, dust from skies. Fuel for blood, no compromise. Wreckage trails, metal cries. Survival's rule, kill or die. 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 Burning rubber, desert screams. Ruthless war, shafts are found. Chaos reigns, no hope around. In the silence, crimson streets. When the silence, vengeance crowd.
I have used toys like this Volkswagen or Bugatti toy, which then I used to recreate the Buzzards from Mad Max Fury Road, but not actually these Buzzards from here, because they look extremely spiky, not technological like. The original concepts from the Buzzards of the 90s look more like retrofuturistic, like something from 40k, and I want just that, with the retrofuturistic and nuclear power aesthetic of the Corvega cars from Fallout, because Fallout deserves working vehicles to me. For example, this was a Corvega or this other car from Fallout 3, or this car from Fallout 1 and 2, which is a 3D rendition, or this another 40s era car that could look from the real 40s but is actually from Fallout. I like Corvette cars. This is the overall reason of using these cars and references. Now what we are going to do is remove all the plastic details from the metal body, either in a Hot Wheels car or in these 1/32 scale die-cast cars, and then either sand the paint or use a gel stripper. This is important. It's important that we use a gel and not liquid stripper, because if it is gel, it can be applied in very thick layers to activate the paint sooner and remove it. But we need to put on gloves or use some kind of protection, because this type of thin stripper eats away the plastic, and I do not want to know what is good with my hands. So I'm gonna put on these latex gloves, or at least try it. Okay, it just works. This is why I was saying you have to apply these in big thick layers, because in that way the paint is activated sooner. I'm going to remove them using a toothpick, and it's so easy to remove that I'm even enjoying it. Or maybe it's the toxic fumes playing with my mind, who knows? And this is important for toys made of metal. A lot of times they paint them with real car paint, and it eats the detail away. And this is interesting. Now I'm gonna use bleach, because bleach removes the chrome from toy plastic. And I'm gonna have to modify some of these chrome pieces, and I do not want to breathe chrome dust. I'm gonna sand these things later. And this is what happens with the plastic now. It has been damaged. So yes, it looks good for a post-apocalyptic car, but maybe if you want a cleaner one, you should not do it. And as you can see right now, the chrome has been removed from every single one of these pieces. Just right now I'm trying how they look, and I really like it. And now is basically to make a hole on the grill, because I want this completely empty in order to create some type of jet engine like the MiG-21 or the Corvega Analog, I guess it's called. Now I will use this pen tip clicker in order to create the tip of the type of nuclear engine, or a MiG-21 one. So it sounds weird, right? It just works. In order to add more detail, I will use these guitar or brass strings to create cables, because these will have a horrible metal rod that have to be hidden somewhat. And please listen to this. So yep, I'm gonna have to cut that. And now it just works. Now it does not sound. I love it. I'm gonna use parts of this broken charger cable. You have to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times as many as necessary to have more cables than actually the ones that you could need. Yes, it sounds weird, I know. The idea is to have more than what you could probably break. Then I will use a lighter to burn the dust and the hairs of this fabric. And later I will glue it to the body, make some holes on the fenders, glue these things, et voila! What you see right now is the final result. It has this kind of shine, which is very irrelevant, but the important thing is that now they are super hard. They are not like fabric anymore. Using liquid Loctite is hard as if it were a plastic part. My idea was to achieve something similar to this Mercedes Roadster Part 2 detail. For more details, I will upgrade these headlights adding plastic, which came from another toy car lights. Cut the tip of this pen to create another headlight. And also I have used this HO scale barrel in order to create some type of barrel to hold something. And now it's time to heat this metal wire to poke it inside the headlight and the fender, basically like you see now. Do dry fitting a lot. This is what I'm doing right now, not gluing things. And I will add a guitar and toy cables to make it more interesting, to look maybe it could hold some kind of coolant or oils, I'm not sure. To create some kind of armored window for the driver and co-pilot, I bought these ones in AliExpress. And actually the original Buzzard car from Fury Road has manholes on the windows. Then I will use this metallic thing, which to be honest I do not know what is or where it came, but looks nice as another type of armored window. So put it in shape and just glue it. In my case I use kitchen scissors that I bought just for this purpose. Cutting trash. Because it's better than playing with my physical integrity of my hands using the Dremel. And now it's time to dry fit the doors. I basically just put them on their respective places and try them. If they work, nice. If they not, I have to fix something. And they work and it's nice. Now I will keep the glass transparent for the driver's place, but the rest will be improvised armor. To simulate that basically is sanding everything really well and only leave the glass driver untouched. I will glue this grill from an electrical machine to cut hair from undisclosed places of the body, and these grills, which came from the Hobbit tongue engine covers, meaning it's the same material bit thing. I will create a mount for the gun mantlet, for which I take as reference the L3 light Italian tank head and some Swedish weapons and things, because I guess I love some Swedish things. Speaking about the Hobbit tongue, maybe you will like it, you should watch that video. And this cannon was the one that I showed you on that video, which I actually didn't use because I prefer to make one that could go up and down. I will use this now as for this car, and it came from a pen. That's the reason I never threw nothing to the trash. Also dry fit these things here, not glue, because we will glue that later, only use blue tack. And because I want to make interiors for this car, I will continue the shape of this cannon inside. I will cut this really horrible toy machine gun, which was originally a toy 50 cal M2 Browning machine gun, but in this case I will create some type of 20mm automatic cannon. To add more detail, I will glue this thing. I also will glue small sheets of plastic here and there and add more detail. It's a type of panel that can be removed or do something which is intended for inner mechanism and do pew pew things. I will glue toy bullets, which came from games like fake G.I. Joe weapons and such things. This metallic sheet came from a 9-volt battery and it's for the receiver. And also I will cover the roof using this really old t-shirt to create some type of clothing for the inner upholstery. To make this look more post-apocalyptic, I will make holes on it. Like you see right now, basically pinch with your fingers or nails and then do a small kind of dimple and cut it with the scissors. After doing this, once you do it 3 times or 4 times better, because with 3 times it will look like a human's face. Now I will use a touch to burn a bit the borders, because if not, the size of the clothing will not transmit the actual size of the model miniature scale. And now you should put gel, Loctite gel, on the edge to stick the clothes right in place. After, we are gonna wrinkle the fabric and apply liquid Loctite, because this will make the wrinkles dry as if it is like a plastic detail, like some type of mold, and it would be resistant and hard, and that is what we want precisely. Here you can see my idea for the bullets, which is that they came out of the barrel of the cannon, go through the roof hidden by the fabric to a chain of bullets that will come through the back. It just works. For the wheels, I'm gonna use this interesting technique. Basically, you have to cover the wheels with baking soda and then with Loctite. This solidifies and it will look horrible, but then you just have basically to sand it, and once sanded, it will be flat. And now we can cover this ugly detail of toy wheels. Let's do more details. Now I'm going to glue these nuts, which I made using a mold right here on the grill, and I'm going to mark the door with this red marker, so I know where I do not have to put glue, because I want the door to be able to open and close. I'm going to make a huge pocket using an old t-shirt to put things inside the door. There are many things you can stick inside the door. In my case, I'm going to stick these pinheads that are useless, and they could be some type of post-apocalyptic tool made to hand your food, if it's people, or to hand food with 4 legs, if it's animals or whatever. And I also gonna glue this kind of grenade inside, which was a Warhammer ammunition bag also, and it came from a Necromunda thing, I guess. It was basically a useless bit. Just materialize a finished door, and I'm gonna glue a crowbar inside, which basically was a wire, to which I only tightened the ends so it will look like a crowbar. Then I will glue a couple of Games Workshop ammunition pockets and a canister from a flamethrower deposit that I was not going to use for absolutely nothing more. And I consider that this is done. Now I will make a pistol handle to put under the automatic rifle or automatic cannon, so that there is some type of physical human way of using it. Put these pads of this Warhammer bolter, and then you have a pistol that ironically seems to be at the right scale, because Warhammer is oversized. Either so Warhammer things or weapons can be used in things at 135 scale, or things at 135 scale can work perfectly for Warhammer weapons. Now you have to glue a few more details, like these nuts on the handle or on the back of the gun. I have also glued that wire in the shape of a circle to hook this needle to inflate balls, because it's going to be a telescopic sight, and glue the head of a pin to make the hammer to hammer the gun, and the glue this pad to making the actual scope. And this was basically my reference. This is a Swedish anti-tank rifle. My idea is to mix this weapon with an automatic 20mm, such as the Hispano Suiza that you could find on planes. Here you can see the hammer to hammer the weapon, and it's extremely big. And something that I do not put on my weapon is an ammunition structure, because I'm neither American or a weapons designer or a weapons gunsmith, so I cannot be attentive to all details. For example, my idea with the barrel for this car is that every time you shoot, there's a recoil that that goes into the barrel itself. That's the reason there is a tiny pistol grip that allows you to grab the gun without destroying your shoulders. For example, you can see in this armored car, which was a Czechoslovakian one, the same semi-automatic cannon, it's a really similar one, with a pistol grip to hold it. But my idea for this apocalyptic car is basically an automatic cannon, like this other one, but in this other design the entire gun suffers from the recoil, and you need a lot of space, and you basically cannot humanly grab it without destroying your hand or arm. So for my post-apocalyptic car, the idea is that you grab the rifle like a normal one. The recoil is suffered by the barrel, not by you. It's assimilated by the barrel mantlet, so you can use it inside the car to hunt convoys, trains, lonely light vehicles or merchants with bramins, although it's a fairly important overkill to do that. Basically, now it's almost finished, and we can add detail to the interior, like these toy backpacks or these rolled t-shirts to look like some kind of canvas or generic luggage. Also, I have glued other bullets which will disappear on the back of the car itself. Now, finally, you can glue the glass to the rest of the car and glue the barrel to the mantlet. Until now, it was only dry fitted. And now I'm going to cut this machine gun that came with an M1 Abrams kit to make a machine gun to protect the back of the car. You had basically to cut that short part and then the barrel, and then glue a toy pistol bullet to make the barrel. And then I glue an hypodermic needle as barrel and make a small hole to make the machine gun sight. I'm going to glue some cloth fabric to hide that horrible gap that is left between the machine gun and the glass that will now be armor. And well, some tanks have canvas to protect the cannon, such as the M48s or T55s. Now, basically, it's time to glue the smoke discharger, which I have glued also small wire cable, so what appears to be electrically accurate. And well, what is a smoke discharger? Well, it's basically a kind of mortar that throws grenades in the air that explode and generate smoke, which is useful for hiding vehicles, flee from areas, or deploy troops or extract them in a vehicle. It's basically an instant smoke screen. And there are two types. There are the smoke grenades that explode, and then you have smoke injectors that inject oil into an exhaust of a vehicle to generate a continuous smoke screen. Now with this car, I have not recorded how I did this, because I forgot to turn on the camera. Yes. So what I have done, basically, I've been to glue things like this cover to the fuel tank, which also I make holes in the clothing that covers the machine gun, cover that gap in the fender with a plastic chip of something, and glue that to the exhaust pipe, which came from a broken mobile recharger. We could basically glue the spikes, but I'm not gonna do that because we have to do something simpler, like this Volkswagen Beetle, which is a very common car toy on dollar store anywhere for you to find. So let's...
Fuck it up, don't give a shit anymore.
Okay, well, once that your car betrays you as a lifelong friend, it's time to make a hole in the base of his skull. I mean, in the base of the roof of the car, so that this manhole cover can allow a soldier to poke out, such as a type of tank hatch. Now cut with scissors this metal sheet that came with a 9-volt battery to make a hinge. You just have to fold the metal on itself and pass a wire. It just works. Make a U shape with the wire and it's fully functional. Then I just have to turn the wire into a U for working as a hinge. And also with a hot wire, I'm going to melt this plastic. I'm going to glue it to a manhole, another U-shaped thing as a kind of handle to lift the makeshift hatch. You should put Loctite gel on these parts and use baking soda to solidify this. To create a more interesting detail also for free. I have also glued that thing from plastic, which to be honest I don't know what was in origin. I also glued that piece of fabric there to make later a hole and add more detail to the manhole thing hatch. I also gonna glue this added Sherman armor to the doors of the Volkswagen. and glue the original lights of the car, but with a twist. I'm going to put toy gun bullets to make these light covers, like the ones the Germans use on their BMWs or in their Kubel wagons. I'll use these electronic covers for a battery-powered toys as improvised armor with a vision port. Cut the edges of the plastic, and with this T-34 spare track, I'll do the same, improvised armor. Then I will glue those IS-3 Joseph Stalin tracks on the windows as again improvised armor, and make torching marks made with a plasma torch, for example, cutting with a cutter there to make those really good marks. It's a very simple technique and always works. Now I'm gonna use liquid Lockheed to add strength to the improvised windshield armor, and then fill it with baking soda to harden even more. Then let's use metal Sherman tracks to put them right in the front of the driver's seat so it can withstand more shots. For example, I'm going to use this other part of toy electric battery cover to add a ballistic shield for the wise man that will want to poke his head during a combat or a shooting. And I'm going to add those great plastic cards to add more improvised armor to the small windows. This thing was a ballistic shield of a M60 machine gun. I'm going to put it as a spoiler for the car, and this is a gas cylinder. I'm going to fill it with holes, but now I will make a cable with wire. Why? Well, basically this cable is going to carry some kind of fuel or oil to this tank, and I'm going to add supports using cardboard. There is no problem on using cardboard for models because although it's permeable and it's cardboard, it has an advantage. Basically, it's malleable, it adapts well to our needs, to any shape, it's easy to cut, and if you use later liquid Lockheed, the material absorbs the Lockheed, so it becomes something as hard as plastic itself and impermeable. Well, yeah, that. Now it's time to put these pieces of plastic. So nail this wire because we're going to create some antennae. Because my idea is this faction, although people who drive this car are possibly cannibals, so in other words, maybe not very intelligent, they're capable of fixing this technology, combining things in this car. For example, in addition to transporting troops, it's also capable of controlling drones or robots from the distance, and I want to indicate that with the antennas. Now I'm going to put different wheels behind, and because these came from a toy truck, and they have a really much larger axle hole. So what we have to do is under the original axle of the car using painter's tape. And well, it just works. This weird thing is the bottom of a BMW sidecar. I'm going to glue them in a different way to make a kind of a snowplow, like the typical anti-zombie snowplow. I'm going to remove it to glue the new post-apocalyptic bumper right here. And they are almost finished. The only thing left is to glue the spikes on the cars. The long one, which I call it, I don't know, let's call it Bucephalus, because it's a fast attack car, has modified interiors, etc. And its model is a bit more complex. And this one, which is a curvy troop transport car, let's call it a Du, which is a kind of Mongolian horse, control robots while riding. Let's start. Bombots. What is a bomb robot or a bombot? Well, a bombot is basically this. But since it's a very ugly and does not fit within Fallout universe really well, I'm going to make my own version. I'm going to take a toy, a medieval weapon mace, and fill each one of the spikes with holes and glue the heads of these pins as detonators, so that this ends looking like an anti-submarine mine from the First or Second World War. I will later add propellers, basically a camera array, and then you will have a robot. Now I'm going to use the rest of this pin to make these larger legs or landing gear, like a Sputnik. What I'm going to do now is to glue a small semisphere that came out of a mold as a camera, like I do in majority of my drones or robots. I'm going to hit this part, that it is from a bit, to make bracelets as main rotor. It's not going to be exactly the propeller, basically it's going to be like the engine. I imagine this robot inside is also made of a compound of fusion cores or microfusion batteries in poor condition that can enter in a critical fusion state by activating some of the many detonators. And that's how it flies. Also, In fact, it's electric and ecological, because it's both recycled in reality and the Fallout universe, so you have that. That's how I make the rotors. The best thing is they can rotate or move. If you do not like this, you can glue them, but I really like that it moves. And basically, these rotors exist in real life. They are called Coaxial Rotors, and you have two types. This type of rotor is based on the Kamov design, who was a Soviet engineer. There is also another type of coaxial rotor, which is the Kaman. This is the Kamov 137, a Soviet drone, and this is the US Kaman helicopter designed in 1947.
From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me.
Now I'm going to make holes to create sockets for the cameras or eyes of these robots using the Dremel. And with these toothpicks, breaking them in half and making a small hole, you can put one of the beads to create a much more interesting propeller. And after that, I glue these things right in the center of the robot, so to make a drive shaft for the propeller. I cut plastic from this plastic thing, and then it's as simple as hitting the rotors and putting them inside. I have made like 3 or 4 of these robots, but you're only gonna see one because I couldn't make the rest for this video, so it wasn't too long. So tell me in the comments if you want for me to continue these little robots, making a short video tutorial, or I make them by my own. The most important part of making this kind of rotor was to practice, because one day I will want to make airships for my goblins, for my hobbits, post-apocalyptic airship, and so on. These are the real robots that I have made up to have. Tell me in the comments again if you want for me to continue or not, because I can make them in a very little time, so could some have a video of making them, painting them, etc. And they look very interesting painted. This spiked robot is going to have a scrap cannon, which probably shoots trash as a makeshift shotgun or trabuco, which I'm going to make using these things. They are from pen clickers. They are cool, serrated parts, and they look like teeth, so it's enough to convince me. I'm going to glue these spikes, which came from a Warhammer orc piece, but you can use regular sharpened plastic pieces. Cut this same shape, like I'm doing right now, and that's all. This is going to be the robot used by this faction, while the others have not been yet corrupted or stolen by this faction. Dude, for the guy I have used as reference the Buzzards from Mad Max and the Shrouded Immortals from Rage 1 and Rage 2 games, but Rage 2 ones shine too much to my taste. Also, and the Tusken Raiders from Star Wars, that was the idea. Okay, wait a minute, I have to run. Give me a few seconds, please. Okay, I have to deal with this. To show properly his arm, let's see it done. My god, your hit is really strong. Okay, so you can see what I was saying. This is a heavy Shrouded Immortal from Rage 1, game ironically made by Bethesda and ID Software. And the armor design is a bit like the Tusken Raiders, the Buzzards from Mad Max, but a bit more technological. Basically, that's what I like. And now I have to pay some respects to this fallen dude. Here you have it. After offering this good man some tea bags, it's time to see what we have. And I have this man who is running away with food at 1/35 scale, and I have this British soldier with a gas mask that I made years ago for a diorama that I never finished. So we have to go into modify this man first. Remove his head, remove his arms, and congratulations, now you have a torso. Now we have to remove the arms of the British soldier to have a historically accurate veteran of the First World War on the Western Front, and glue his arms on the other dude, or better, dry fit. Also, I will dry fit the German Fulchin Jaeger head. I really like it. Okay, and now the British soldier, as I don't want him disarmed, I'm going to glue a couple of arms with some glue. Now he has a mace, so...
I got a mace, I'm gonna mace you in your future face, but...
Tell me in the comments if you want me to continue these modifications to these World War I soldiers. Now I'm going to sand this. What I have applied here is liquid lactate and baking soda. Now what you are seeing is that I had removed a chunk of his face and have glued some night vision goggles that came from some war game. I'm not sure right now. And because it is not for a retro World War I gas mask, it has no problem looking futuristic. Also, right now I'm using green putty. Yes, the idea is to cover absolutely everything on this face and give a shape like a rat or a Tuscan rider's mouth. And now we are going to make rubber texture with these wrinkles with the tip of this pin. Now it's time to try and stick the head on the torso, and well, I like it a lot. It looks cool. But this miniature still needs more work. For example, I'm going to add a series of things with green putty. I'm going to make a raised back for the gas mask, to which I will later connect a breathing hose. And I'm going to make a belt that will go under the jacket. I'm going to glue a small ball there, and with an old t-shirt I'm going to make a kind of poncho or cape. Also, with this Warhammer thing, I'm going to remove that mine to make a kind of rear breathing system, or maybe an anti-personnel mine, I don't know. I have done to this cloth the same as I did to the interior of the car, which was to give some wrinkles, make holes, and then solidify this using the Loctite liquid one. And now it's hard as if it were plastic, practically impossible to break, at least easily, and will be easier to paint. That's what I think it's a very interesting technique for you to try. All t-shirts is a thing that anyone has. Well, I also added those pockets on the leg and on the left arm. And I put a magnet on the feet so it can be removed and put on this base or in another dioramas or in the Volkswagen itself. I also added more details and added a grenade on the right side and added some bands to the hands. I'm going to make spikes for the cars, which I'll use this plastic from Games Workshop plastic, which are squared, contrary to most models which are usually cylindrical. You can also use original orc things. To make the spikes you cut like this on half, and then you have a spike, and then you can use model cement or glue to stick them on a model plastic. The plastic of models melts with this glue, thus forming a much harder bond on the surface. Contrary on the metal, I will have to use other things, such for example a harder plastic, Loctite. This red plastic came from a toy and it's extremely hard, so it's good for this purpose. You add Loctite for defenders and in all areas that we do not want enemies jumping or monsters or mutants, but in the driver's area, not so many, because he needs some visibility. You could put smaller spikes on the left and bigger on the right, because there is no way of seeing on the right, in which the aided fuel tank is. By the way, yes, if you like this, give a like, subscribe or share. It will be really useful for me and for you. I could do similar things to this one, and also it will reach to more people in order to be able to make more shorter beats, but more often. I'm going to add spikes to the wheels, like these ones. A wire, hit this thing, nail it to the wheels, as if it were a river steel, and then cut the tip. Perfect. We have medieval device that made to puncture the wheels of other vehicles or do ugly things to people's shins. Perfect. And now I'm going to do a magic trick to transform this car that doesn't have spikes into a hedgehog with wheels. Spike it is poikety. And that's it. I'm also going to add another type of system of wheel puncture, different from the previous one. I'm going to make this kind of sharp rows. You need a plastic circle that came from a debit or credit card. You have to put it into spokes like this, so that looks like the fan of an airplane turbine, and then you have to cut small triangles from each of one of these things, and then it will look like an aggressive cogwheel. And you have basically to bend this upwards, and once glue on the sides of the wheels, it will be looking to the side. Do exactly the same with a smaller wheel. Make the teeth opposite to the direction of the previous one. I have also taken from these mold nuts made with transparent resin that I have glued in the center of each wheel to make it more realistic and credible, so it seems that they somehow can be removed. Painting. I'm going to paint these cars to make them like a really dangerous rust bucket. First, for this ugly Darth Maul looking car, I use me rust one shot. And now I'm going to use this as a test because I don't know how it's going to turn out. Basically, it's a paint with a metallic component that activators some kind of liquid, makes this thing rust extremely quickly, and I want to see how it turns without destroying my cars more. You have to wait between a few minutes or a few hours. I prefer to wait 3 hours until it was completely dry because it was a cold day and it didn't dry quickly. And well, it really convinces me. So let's paint it. This paint is called U-Rust Black Oxide by Mick Jimenez. There are different types of U-Rust. Black Oxide is much denser and I prefer it to this project. So basically, you have to paint completely to cover every part of the car that you want to be rusted. The robots, the underside of the cars. Don't paint the seats, the clothes, or the cast steel or iron of the treads, for example, the panel, the wheel drive, and that's all. Once it's dry, basically, you can apply the activator 2 and then the 1. But I have to say that it's better to apply first the first and then the second, because the first one is more liquid and the second is denser. So you can apply the liquid one in a important amount and then apply little dots of the second one. Because if you do like that, then it will dry, creating a more kind of generic effect with different rust colored dots, many more shades. So please keep that in mind. In this video, my camera does not capture the colors really well. They alter the tones and the car finish looks like completely orange. But it's not like that. For example, this is the Volkswagen, but now look at the Bucephalus. This one is less orange and you see more shades everywhere. And I insist, it's not that orange. In real life, it's more different, as you could see right now, for example. Now, we have only left to paint a bit more details. I'm going to paint the seats of the interiors, the cameras of the robot, and there are many other things. I'm going to use Mick Dust, which basically is a dusty color, paint the interiors of the fabric. That could be sandbag fabric, for example, and then you apply washing. Going to do that right now, to apply this to all fabrics. It's very simple, it doesn't matter that if it looks bad. I'm also going to paint this coolant or fuel or smoke pipes. I'm not sure what they are, I'm not a mechanic. And I've also painted the weapons in their respective barrels black. I've painted the leather things with a washable rust from me, and I'm going to paint the helicopter rotors of the robots pure black. I'm going to paint also the cameras of the robots with the excedent of black paint. Once this is painted, I'm going to use bronze to paint all the cables that hang from the robot and paint the side of the automatic cannon. Also the cables of the grenade discharger, and the cables that are in the mouth or air intake of the car. I'm going to use this metallic color, gunmetal. I've also painted a bullet color with brass color, and brass color the long part of the telescopic side with a sponge. And I have made chipping on these leading edges of the propellers to make them look more worn. I have made chipping with basic black again on the control panel to make it look much more weathered. Then, with this oil, let's do magic. Basically, you have to paint these parts, which are gonna be more rusty, and then with a thinner activator, it can be removed from certain areas much faster. So, let's paint the automatic cannon, and also these parts. And what you are seeing right now is how I use the thinner to clean the machine gun ball, the barrel of the cannon, and the cannon itself. As you can see, my finger also removes the paint once the liquid is put on, but I prefer to use a brush, never tissue paper, because paper can leave hairs and I do not want that right now on my model. And for now, practically everything that needs to be said has been said. Let's talk about the lore of this faction. In my opinion, this faction was made enough simple and generic to fit in a series of post-apocalyptic or dystopian worlds such as Fallout, Gaslands, Warhammer. By the way, right now I'm using brown oil washing. Once this faction was originally came from a special submarine detachment with a type of weapon that was not nuclear. They carried a virus, a version of less power than the original one, which I call Rotterdam, basically European FEB, developed in West Germany. This is a much weaker version of the virus, but somehow it was released inside the submarines and affected the crews. Right now, they are stranded in different places in different countries, and they share in some way a series of experiences on a mental scale, because they have some kind of gestalt mind that allows them to share consciousness for all, and some have been affected more than others. Some are perfect strategists, well, by wasteland standards, and others are basically cannibal monsters that crawl on all fours, and deep down everyone can somehow feel what others feel, which is a total, utter madness. Basically this faction, just like they cannibalize people, they also cannibalize vehicles or machines. This faction, as it is not capable of creating anything new, is forced to pirate, steal, destroy. It is not something that they have chosen. The few that somehow retain their consciousness, or their minds, or their memories, even if they have somehow migrated their consciousness from one body to another, sometimes are sitting in the passenger seat inside their bodies, and they can't do anything to avoid people they do not want to hurt. Other times, with much effort, they can left alone and don't hurt somebody, but it's very difficult for them. My original idea for this is that could have been used for the submarines that were in the Fallout universe, for a Warhammer ship that crashed. It is generic enough to fit in a number of things. Also, as you can see, I also removed some painter's tape that was on the glass in the front of the drive. Now all that's left is to finish painting this, which I'm going to add gloss varnish to the cameras, vision goggles, and infrared light of the car, smoke in the cannons, and little else. Okay, I have at the moment 2 factions planned for Fallout in Europe or Fallout the Far East. One is this one that uses rusty cars and spikes everywhere, and another one is the one that I tell you that was formed right after the war, and some or majority of the members are actually ghouls. So you can tell me in the comments if you like that or don't or whatever. My idea, basically, is very simple. Fallout Europe is so that we can do a lot of things with what we have at hand. In the way of models, stories, I just want to put vehicles and industry, animals such as horses, cattle raising, agriculture, which could generate a conflict with another interesting factions. Because for me it has logic that surviving or new powerful factions develop economies, then markets, then a way to transport that goods from one place to another efficiently with convoys or trains or ships, etc. And basically I love Fallout. I do not want to alter the original story or the history of the original factions in North America. So that's why I created this. On the other hand, so you learn whether you like or not Fallout, how you can transform things like these dollar store toys that are very simple to get, diecast 132 scale or 143 scale for Warhammer scale, which is 28mm, or Hot Wheels, to turn into stuff like this. And of course, I almost forgot, you should know that the car you see here and these colors are not the real ones. This is the real color, the real tones of orange, yellow, brown. This is what I see in real life with my fleshy eyes, but my mobile only captures these on very close pics, in very close videos. So I would use this paint, or give it at least a try, even into account that it paints by itself. Trying to paint these spikes and oxidize them with a sponge would have been extremely tedious and horrible. Seriously, However, using this paint that oxidizes itself has been much easier and fun for me at least. Well, and that's all. Basically, give it a like, I will appreciate it immensely. And that's all for now. I will give you a little advance on the other faction. Let's see each other on the next video, and remember,